host, Amour Carthy. And today's episode is sponsored by Education Innovations, where we help guide families through education decisions from college and graduate admissions to life beyond. And today's episode, we will be featuring Michael Henry, and his episode is called Pivot Point, and we will follow his journey from college, graduate school to his early career. And the purpose of this podcast is to help people learn about what it's like in different colleges and expose people to different careers they may be interested in. So, without further ado, let's bring on our special guest, Michael Henry. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hi there, Moore. I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing great. It's so good to have you on. I'm excited about learning about your journey and to share it with the whole wide world. The first time we met, it was actually your Morehouse graduation. I remember walking by with my son and my husband, and you had all of these cords, and I was just like, you know what? I want to be nosy. And I was just like, excuse me, why do you have on all these cords? So, tell me more about, how you graduated from, where you came from when you graduated from Morehouse and what all those cords were. And then tell me more about your journey.
Absolutely. So, I'll just start kind of, from my hometown. So I'm originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I knew I wanted to get away from home, just to kind of, grow and immerse myself. I know that sometimes transitioning is never easy, but it is necessary for growth. And so that was my first thing in mind when I wanted of leaving home. And I also wanted to go to a school that fostered brotherhood. So, of course, keeping with the HBCU realm, but I was very intentional about again wanting that brotherhood aspect, something that growing up I didn't have as much, and I just knew that Morehouse was the place for that. So I applied, I got in, and I did all of those things, and I was very, very active at Morehouse, and I'm just honored to say that my neck was very heavy at graduation with the many courses and things. I really worked really hard. Just a little glimpse of what I did at Morehouse, what some of the chords were. So I was a study abroad ambassador in our Office of International Education, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that during this episode today. Um, I was also the president of our student ambassador team. I was in one of the higher ranking scholars in our class to get one of the chords for that. And so many other organizations and clubs on campus. But everything that I did, I was very passionate about. I didn't just join, one thing and give it a certain percentage, but I gave all of it my all. And so Morehouse really poured so much into me and shaped me to who I am today, and really opened up so many more doors, so many doors for me. And I'm just excited to talk about just kind of about like what those doors were and kind of what that journey was. But that's just a little bit about how I got to Morehouse and things that I was involved in during my time there.
Okay. So when you were first leaving Fayetteville to Morehouse, what was your plan to study when you got to Morehouse?
Yeah, so my plan, I studied political science, but I went in with the mindset that I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I thought that in order to be a lawyer, you had to study political science, which is absolutely false. So by the time I realized that, I said, well, I'm already in, already in this major. I might as well go ahead and stick it out. So that was my original plan. And then things just changed again, really, when I went to study abroad. Um, and that's what opened up my doors more into the international kind of relations world. But that was my initial plan whenever I got to Morehouse.
So how did you pivot, or how did you learn about the study abroad? Because most people don't really know about that necessarily when they come in. And then, how did you make that pivot from not necessarily wanting to become a lawyer and then the study abroad stuff? Like, tell us more about that.
For sure. So I went to the study abroad office. I was just curious. I said, you know what? I said I want to go out of the country and I want to study abroad. I don't know what. I've just always been a person where I've just always just been kind of curious, always been a go-getter. So I said, I'm gonna, even if I don't know how it's gonna happen, I'm gonna put my all into it and see if we can make a way. So it just started from one conversation for my
Mhm.
study abroad office, and I had to give a big shout out to Mr. White. Miss Janine
Mm.
White in our study abroad office. She is one of the coordinators there, and she is like a mom to us all because she's just so helpful, and she was there for every step of the way, guiding us me through the process. So I just sat down with her, explored my options. And I said, I think this is something that I'll actually be interested in doing because I'm the first in my family to really do any of this stuff that what I'm doing today. And a lot of students, don't study abroad for a number of reasons. Either they don't know about it, either it's financially taxing, which it is, or they're just afraid to go because it is a big step of going, to another country, primarily primarily by yourself. So it just was from that conversation from Miss White, and I remember after I applied for everything, studying abroad. I was almost stopped because of finances, and I was like, you know what, I've come this far, I can't just give up here. So I just kept applying to more and more scholarships, and I'm so
Yes.
thankful. I have to give a shout out as well to the Charles Merrill Scholarship with the IES Abroad. They were so gracious to give me the scholarship to help me, and they were very instrumental in my journey. And then my journey to study abroad was also canceled due to COVID as well too. So I had to
Ooh.
fight to get this to happen. We had applied and everything and got accepted. And then we received a notice, from administration from the college as the semester was ending, literally the day the semester ended, that we were not able to study abroad. And I was like, well, I've done all this. I've come so far. I've worked really hard. And so we end up, discussing with the administration and telling them like how important this would be for our life. And I knew that this is something that I needed to do. And of course, while honoring that COVID was there, but we discussed with them, that we'll make sure that we are safe and, still be able to take those precautionary measures. But I didn't want this opportunity just to be completely cut out. So I'll just say that getting to study abroad was not an easy, it was like, it was kind of almost like a fight to get there. But
Hmm.
again, anybody who knows me knows that I don't just give up, whenever battles are coming my way. So I just kept pressing and pressing, talking to administration and then getting those scholarships. And I was able to get everything to work out. And I'm so grateful because it is because of that experience, which is who had an impact on my life today and really kind of changed me kind of more into this field. And I say, you know what, studying abroad, like, just in general, it's hard to even put into words because I remember when I first came back. So I studied abroad in London. I was there for the
Hmm.
whole semester from January to May. When I got back to the US, that was the longest I've ever been out of the US. I was gone for 5 months straight. And when I got back, I felt new in an old place. It just felt, everything around me just felt, I was like, wow, like, I just can't. Again, I felt like I just had woken up out of a. I can't even explain it, but it was just such a great
Did you
feeling.
feel like your lens of how you saw the world was open and
Yeah,
that
it
it
was.
was
I
like
mean, it
small?
was
Mhm.
open so much. I mean, more. I'm telling you, I didn't see things. I even noticed the conversation with people were not the same either. It just
Mhm.
everything was just so different because like when you get to see outside of the U.S., it really just opens your world up to so many different things, and it gives you just like to show you that how big this world is. And
Mhm.
so again, and then I also there was also a reverse culture shock. Even though I'm from the U.S. here, but when you're gone for that long and even just traveling for that amount of time, coming to get back to this society, the reverse culture shock, it really is a real thing. But I say that to say that I'm just extremely grateful for that opportunity because, again, studying abroad is what really was one of the major kind of instrumental, factors in my life that kind of helped me to get to where I am today.
Mm. So, you said something about not everyone in your family has done this. Were you the first in your family to go to college and abroad?
Yeah, so I am a first generation college student, and I am one of the, I would say the one of the first in my immediate family to kind of go abroad and to do all this, that I'm doing today. So and my family always calls me. They say you are really the trailblazer for this family, and they
Mm.
always say that, and even so many people on social media, because I'm always sharing my journey on social media, and
Mhm.
people are saying, Michael, we are living vicariously through you, just when you're posting your journey and your travels. And so now I've been to, I think, about a total of 17 different countries.
Oh,
I
wow.
keep a running tab on I think on my phone or somewhere, but the countries I've been to, but I'm just amazed that, again, like how just I've been to one place and now I've been to all these different countries within the span of and I just never envisioned this for my life. So I'm just so grateful to see what else is to come, just kind of in my life.
So, since you've been to all of those different countries, and I'll go back to London, what was the most surprising country to you? Like you maybe thought you wouldn't like, but you really liked?
Mm,
Yeah, and why?
yeah. It's a good question. I would say probably Rwanda, and it's only because I haven't. I mean, I've been to the continent before, but I've never been anywhere in East Africa. And sometimes we don't know a lot about a particular country. You can
Mhm.
have these different thoughts and different and just different feelings. But when I got there, it just felt just like home, and I really enjoyed it. I was there actually this past summer for about 2.5 months.
Mm.
Doing an internship there at the U.S. Embassy. But what I really liked about being in Rwanda was that everyone there is just so like it's so lax there. Like I know, we're here in the US, of course time is an important factor, but over there it's like no one is really kind of just like in a rush. They're just kind of just like taking things easy. And it just reminded me that sometimes we need to just kind of like take it step by step. And of course, being punctual and time and everything is very important. But it just while I was there, I kind of had to adapt to that because, I was in their country. And that was kind of just their norm, the way they do things. But I think that's what really made me just appreciate about being over there, and it ended up turning to be one of the my favorite countries that I've been to. Like I said, I didn't know kind of really much about it, and which is why I was interested in going. So I wanted to go somewhere that I haven't been before, and I didn't know anybody from there. So
Mm. And then out of those 17 countries, who has the best food to you?
mm, that's oof, that's tough. Um,
Or you can
oh
name
my
maybe three,
goodness,
three, three of
yeah.
the, because you might have a type, three types of different foods that you like, and
Yeah,
you know,
I would definitely say Taiwan. Taiwan is number one of the. I've been to Taiwan. I really love the food there.
what
Um,
kind of
I,
foods do you eat at in Taiwan that you really liked there?
yeah, really it's just like a bunch of like dumplings. I'm a big
Oh,
like I love like Asian food. So
hmm,
like I love like just Thai and other type of like Asian food. So I'm
hmm,
a big fiend with it as they say.
hmm.
So I really enjoyed the food over there. Oh my gosh, Ghana as well too. Oh, the food over there
Mm,
was
what kind of
the
food?
food over there is really spicy though. I mean we had some chicken, some jollof rice,
Oh,
beans, but the food over there was just it was really good. So we
mm.
really stuffed our faces when we were over there. Yeah, so I probably have to say those are probably maybe the top two.
Well, you got me excited for future travels. So
Yes.
you went to London. Did anybody go with you from your school, or did you? Were there other students? Were you scared? And what actually were you studying there? You know.
Yeah, sure. So I was actually during that time the only student from Morehouse that went to London, but I did have
Hmm.
a good brother and friend who actually studied abroad in Portugal at the time, which is also in Europe.
Oh,
So
nice.
we got
Hmm.
to meet up with him a time. But I was a little nervous because I mean, of course, like there are program coordinators there, and you meet students from all across the U.S. and you guys are like a
Hmm.
big cohort. But
Hmm.
it was nerve wracking because I mean it was my first time going out of the country. I was going to be by myself. I didn't know anyone in the UK or in London per se, and I know I would
Hmm.
be there for. I knew there was going to be some type of kind of like isolation
Hmm.
when you're somewhere new and trying to like get adjusted and get around. So that wasn't easy, but we made it around and made it happen. But then I started to connect with students like in the cohort, and I was like, like we're here together, so we have to like kind of get around together to know each other. But I also wanted to make sure that I also connected with locals. I was also intentional with that because I say, if I'm going to come all the way over here, of course, connecting with your cohort is important, but I feel like actually meeting people that are from there as well will kind of help you. So I met a lot of people there. At the church that I went to over there. Became a good,
Hmm.
community and family. So when I was over there, I actually studied that. So IES Abroad is a study abroad, kind of organization, and they have their own institution in London. So it's like around Central London. So I studied there, and I did their Study London study program. So it's kind
Hmm.
of just, I mean, taking classes kind of in my field, political science, but also kind of other classes, kind of like, so I took like a business class. I actually took an interesting a women's history class, kind of in I think
Mm,
like in the UK. So I just wanted to do a little bit different things. So that was the cool thing about that. It allowed us to take like kind of different classes, kind of different fields. But that's what I studied when I was over there.
okay. And then, so once you finished Morehouse, since you decided to pivot, um, you know, what did you do next after
Sure.
Morehouse?
So after Morehouse, I went straight into my master's. No break. I went full force. I'm actually did my master's at Pepperdine University. And at Pepperdine, I was at the School of Public Policy. So I did a dual. We call them specializations. I did a dual specialization in international relations and dispute resolution. And so I could finish my master's in April. And
Mm,
so, but in that time, I also did different internships. Last summer, sorry, not last summer, in 2024, I interned at the State Department in DC in the Office of the Chief of Protocol, which was a very interesting experience. I got to help do some work with the ambassadors to the respective countries in DC. We also welcomed the president of Kenya. He came. I got to help that visit at the White House. So I did a lot. And then most recently, this past summer, as stated before, I was a intern at the public diplomacy a team in Kigali, Rwanda. I was there for 2.5 months, and that was an amazing experience because I got to, as our public diplomacy, we kind of are like the forward-facing kind of team at the embassy. So we got to go out to different schools, talking to students, really talking to students about studying abroad, about the cultural differences, so which I really enjoyed. I went to some high schools, we went to some universities.
mm-hmm,
Hosted, I did different sessions in our. So every embassy has an American Center. So in our
mm,
American the embassy, I hosted different sessions about kind of public speaking, which they were very
mm-hmm,
appreciative about. They loved that. Um, a session about just kind of about like life in the U.S. Like of studying. So that's kind of what I did with during public diplomacy with that. So that's kind of the experience that I've done with that. So after Pepperdine, um, I did that, and then I went home, and then I ended up teaching high school American history for a semester, which was also very rewarding. It was very different. I'm not sure we'll talk more about that as well, but didn't see that coming in, kind of in my path, but ended up doing
so tell
that.
us why you made that
Yeah.
pivot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you all know, I'm sure you can see it on my socials and everything. So I'll just start with this. I'm a Pickering Foreign Affairs Fellow, and my original path. And I'll say that I have not given up on that. So I do want to preface that this is not something that I have given up on, but I was supposed to be starting as a U.S. diplomat. Sometime last year in September, but with this administration, there are a number of changes that kind of have impacted kind of my entry into the foreign service. But with that being said, it's not something that I have just given up on. I'm still pressing to get there, knowing that the timing is looking a little different, but I know that I'll get there one way or another because I've worked to get here. And even with the fellowship, we are,
Mm-hmm,
we were told that we were going to get, at least 5 years in the foreign service as a part of the fellowship. So
mm-hmm,
when I got back from Rwanda, I kind of found out the news about, I won't be starting in September. So
mm-hmm,
I'm going to be completely transparent. It was a very hard time for me during that time. I just felt
mm-hmm,
like everything was over. I said, I got 2 degrees. I worked to get here. And I say, there's just no way that this is the reality. So it took a little
mm-hmm,
while to get here. And I think it's important to acknowledge and recognize that you sometimes you have to, have to sit in these things, and it's okay. We're human and we have
mm-hmm,
feelings. And for me, I worked extremely hard to get here. And I was, so excited about starting in
mm-hmm,
DC to begin my
mm-hmm,
journey as a foreign service officer. So after I started the process, and I say, well, I can't just, I don't want to sit around just, too long. And I don't know kind of what the timing would be like
mm-hmm,
of starting because they're not really giving us any kind of numbers or answers right now. So I'm kind of just kind of in a waiting period. So I said, well, I can, in this waiting period, let me do something that I feel like I can kind of make an impact in. And
mm-hmm,
I felt like education was where
mm-hmm.
it was at for me. I never, if you would have asked me before, I would have said me being a teacher. Absolutely not. But again, I was back in my hometown. I said a way that I can give back to me was pouring into this generation. And so I
Mhm.
went to the school system and I taught American history for there. And that to me was a very rewarding experience,
Mhm.
to be to those students, because I didn't just show those students like about history in the past, but I kind of show them that there's a way out of Fayetteville, and many of
Mhm.
them have never seen someone like like myself who has done all of this from the same hometown as them, and who knows that you can get out, like you don't have to be in the same place, and it's going to take work there. So I really
Mhm.
encourage my students. Like, of course, I taught them, but I showed them more than that. It was kind of like a holistic approach. I wanted to show them
Mhm.
that they can get out and they can do these
Mhm.
things, and that I
Mhm.
also made sure that it was important to make sure that the history was relatable to them today as well too, because these are high school students, and
Mhm.
history can be a topic where it can sometimes be challenging when you're trying to talk about the past. But of course the past is important, but I think it's also important to acknowledge what we're in here now in the present and also the future, and connect it with
Mhm.
these students. And I feel like that was
Mhm.
really what helped me, and the students told me that in their feedback that's what they really appreciated about me
Mm.
when I came in,
Mhm.
and how I was able to teach. And then so I taught for a semester, and then unexpectedly another opportunity came up. Um,
Mhm.
and I am currently in my current role here now at Pepperdine University. It's funny because I moved from California in May, moved back to the East Coast, and within less than a year, I'm back in California. So I'm here at Pepperdine. I'm actually in a dual role, so I'm wearing two different hats. So I'm a resident director with our Housing Residence Life team, and I'm also a late night programming coordinator for the Office of Student Activities. It's a new initiative that the Student Activities office started last semester, just to kind of get students events we have on campus every weekend to get them more and more kind of out of their rooms, build community. So that's what I'm currently doing now, and how I had to pivot quickly in the span of a couple of months.
Well, I love how jump at opportunities. Don't, wallow in sorrow. And,
Yeah.
when something happens, you feel it, but you like you can be sad or you can move on. And you're gonna keep moving forward. But I love how you have had these different opportunities. You have had the opportunity to teach, and then right now you have the opportunity to connect with young people that can change the world. And I think the reason why I'm saying that too is because I used to be a former educator, higher ed administrator. I don't know if you know that I used to be a higher ed administrator at Morehouse. So you can make a large impact, and you may think that it's just, you know you're advising or you're talking to students, but they will remember you. And then representation matters, especially at
Mhm.
Pepperdine. And then you're from the South, and exposure to people that don't act like those movies, that they see. So I'm thankful. Um, you know, what else do you want the people to know about you? Or, what advice do you have for folks that are, you know, first generation students or who want to try new things or just
Ye-
whatever?
Absolutely, and I just want to just touch on a point more what you said earlier. You're right about that. Sometimes we can't just kind of linger in sorrow. Of course, we feel it, and initially you want to just like sit and just and just linger in that. But I told myself, I can't just because it's something that's beyond my control. It's unfortunate that I can't
Mhm.
control this moment. So I have to do what I can control right now, and what I can control is getting out there, finding an opportunity, and finding a way that I can make an impact, and something that I will
Mhm.
actually be passionate about. So one advice that I would give is that you can't let your kind of circumstances or background really stop you from going forward. And I'll just speak for me again, a place of transparency. So I came from very humble beginnings, and I'm not afraid to say, to share that, because that my humble beginnings, it didn't stop me, but instead, it allowed me to develop a spirit of dog grit and determination,
Mhm.
and which is why I'm just always been going so hard. So that would be just be my advice to those first generation college students, whether it's like you want to study abroad, just don't think about it, actually act on it. Go to the study abroad, office. And that was why I was a study abroad ambassador at Morehouse, because I wanted support to, our brothers at Morehouse and give them advice and encourage them. And that was some of the work that I did. I was helping brothers with applications, giving them tips, giving them encouragement, like this is going to be a big step, but you can do this. If you want to go out here and do this big internship or go for this field, like nothing is too I would say nothing is would seem too impossible. Like we all literally have, as you said, the world in our hands, and I'm just a person, a living testament of this, of someone who has just done so much in my I guess in my life already. And just my age, I'm all, only 25, and I'm like, wow, I'm just
You're
amazed.
only
Just
25 and you've done all that? Like,
I just tell myself I'm just so, and I say this in just the most humblest way, but I'm just really amazed, just like the doors and the opportunities that have just opened for me. And it all started really kind of just for me recognizing, of course, where I come from, my hometown, but going to Morehouse, and from there, everything just began to just continue to just skyrocket. So that's what I would say, just to encourage all of you, is that, you know, you can do this. It just takes that your mindset just takes that one step of just saying, I want to do this. And I encourage you to actually act on it. Sometimes we want to say we want to do this, but we don't actually put the work in. And I'll just say that it won't be easy. And I'm not going to lie and say that it will, but, and I'm not saying this to, to make anybody nervous or to scare you, but I'm just showing you that, you're going to have to put in the work for it. If you put in the work for it, the reward will come. Even for me, like, I know everyone sees, of course, my accomplishments and things that I'm sharing. And of course, I want to continue to do that. But it takes, blood, sweat, and tears that people don't see, kind of behind the scenes. And so I'm saying all this to say that, like, as I said, nothing in life, worth fighting comes easy, as they say. So, and I'm just saying all this, again, it's just part of just kind of my testimony and just kind of my journey, how it has helped me to get there. And lean on your support system. I didn't do all this by myself, so I want to acknowledge as well too that I've come a really long way, but it's people along the way that has continued to uplift me, connections I've made that have supported me, that helped me to get to some of these opportunities. So that would be some piece of advice that I would definitely kind of leave with you all.
so when you say support systems, what do you feel like um, the crucial support systems are that people should have when they're making moves? I know what mine are, but what were yours?
Yes, absolutely. So I would definitely say someone that you can consider like a mentor. If you have like a mentor in your life, that was someone that I always, that I discuss with, kind of just any major life moves. Um,
Hmm.
Also, depending on kind of, what it is, if you have like a academic advisor or, someone at a university, they're also great resources. And then
Hmm.
also, you're going to see people you're going to meet along the way, that you will be able to get into these opportunities with. Like for me, like to become a Pickering Fellow, I'll just say this for example. The Pickering Fellowship is very, very competitive, and there was actually a brother at Morehouse who helped me through the entire process. He like kind of coached me through it, and so that's just an example. Like if you know a brother or just anybody in general that who has done something before, like who has got that internship, who has got that job, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like you need to reach out to them to see kind of what they can do. And so it was because I reached out to him and I found out that he was a Pickering fellow and that he won the fellowship. And he literally was like, we had meetings literally almost bi-weekly, coaching me through
Hmm.
kind of the interview process, the application to help me. And that to me was kind of like a real support system, because it's someone that I met along the way that went to Morehouse. And so that's what I would encourage you all. Like that should be what your support system look like. Somebody that you like, that's like a mentor, somebody that you can always kind of talk to about different things. Whether it's like also like an advisor, and then someone that has got something that can kind of help you. And also, I would say utilize LinkedIn if you're not already doing that. LinkedIn, that's how Amour and I are also staying connected. But
Yes.
LinkedIn has so many people out there, so many connections, and you can literally find like LinkedIn shows experiences, and people have reached out to me many times for help. And for me, I'm always willing to be a helping hand. There's people who reached out to me about getting some of the fellowships. I also helped them just like I got helped, and some of them actually won the fellowships. People have asked me
Yes.
about kind of my journey with studying abroad, my journey of going to international relations, my journey of how it was to work at the U.S. Embassy in Rwanda. Like people are seeing these things, and I'm always willing to make time for conversations to help others because, again, I know that I did not get here alone, and it took that support. So I'm always willing to kind of be that helping hand.
So I feel like you're also putting it in the air that, you know, the way that you are thriving in the world is also because of reciprocity, that you're not selfish,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
you pay forward and you will also get in return. You cannot have a closed hand, but a giving hand. And then you will always have even more than you've ever expected and dreamed of in your life. Is that the case?
Yes, absolutely. And I love what you say, Amor. I always say that as well too about paying it forward. And when I'm in conversations with different individuals, I usually always leave with that as well too about you have to pay it forward, and that's exactly what I'm doing because I don't want to gatekeep or because I
Mhm.
again I knew that like it just wouldn't be right because I knew that at these opportunities again I did not get her alone. It's because of people that were willing to help me. And I know there are others out there that are eager to get these places, but they just need some help. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all need help in certain areas and certain spaces to get there. And so
Mhm.
I just want to be there for those that are really eager and just need that extra push or that help to get to where they're trying to go.
Okay. So as we close out, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your journey. And where can people find you? Yes, so they can connect with you.
For sure. So I want to say also first, just thank you more just again for your support over the years, even through, when we first met at Morehouse to up until now. I really appreciate it. And for this opportunity to share my, journey with the world. I'm always excited to do that because you just never know how it can help someone, how it can impact them. But you all can find me on various platforms. I'm pretty active. So I'm on LinkedIn. It's just my first and last name, Michael Henry. You can find me on there. I'm also on Instagram. My Instagram is DTHE Michael Henry _. I'm very active on there. So those are the best two ways to connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. And we can go from there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you all on the next episode. Bye.
Yes. Bye.